So, a lot of the times I hear from small business owners and content creators that they feel like content creation is so overwhelming, how it feels so complicated and so time consuming. And most of the time, they feel like the problem is that they don't have enough content ideas, or that some of these social media platforms are changing too quickly and they're so hard to keep up with. I'm gonna argue that it's neither of those things. Those are not the big problems here. When content creation feels overwhelming, it just means that your content and your system isn't organized enough. Since I'm a content strategist and I've been doing this for over 10 years and I now focus on content ecosystems, I'm gonna walk you through the basics of getting your content creation organized. Before we actually dive into organizing your content, I want you to go back and watch this video where I talk to you about creating a workflow for your content. There are some concepts inside of this video that you'll need to understand in order to kind of get through this entire process. Okay, let's dive into the 3 parts that you need to start organizing your content creation process. So this first part might seem straightforward, but I see a lot of small business owners get this wrong, is creating a tech stack for your content creation. There's about 1 million different apps that you can use to create content. I guarantee you probably get an Instagram ad for a new one at least 3 times a day. And a tech stack is simply the core apps or the pieces of technology that you're gonna use to go and create your content. And the key thing here is creating a tech stack that makes sense for you, but also sticking with it and not just jumping on the latest and greatest app because it just came out. You have to stick with it. This is what's going to help you save time and stay organized in the content creation process so you're not jumping from app to app. You're trying to learn a bunch of new things about the new app and you're trying to find all your old assets and you have to transfer things and blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. Here are some core pieces of technology that I use and that you can start to implement and create as a part of your tech stack. You obviously need something that you are going to actually create the content on. You need something that's going to take the photos and videos. For me, I use my iPhone for vast majority of my content creation, and I only bring out my ZV-1 Sony camera for my YouTube videos. You need something to store all of these videos and photos. I like to use a combination of iCloud, Google Drive, and Canva. I love to use iCloud to store a lot of the things that I like to use over and over again. I have a ton of different stock content that I can use to create content on the go. I keep that on my phone. But let's say there's a big piece of content that I don't need living on my phone, I will put it in Google Drive. So like a lot of these YouTube videos or clips for the YouTube videos, those go on Google Drive. And then any assets that I like to use in design, I just have those put into Canva. You don't need all 3, you just need a space where you're storing all of these different pieces of content, these visual assets. For you, it might be Dropbox. It doesn't matter where you're storing all of this, just stick with a couple of different things. Now you need something to edit your videos in. And there are a ton of different options. I personally like to use CapCut for mobile editing. I feel like it is the most advanced, but also the most intuitive when it comes to editing on your phone, but it also plays nice with TikTok and some of these other platforms. And then I use Descript for my longer form videos, or if I show up on a podcast and want to repurpose it, because you're able to upload that big, large file and it transcribes it for you, and you can see it as a Word document as well and edit it in that way. Some options for you might be InShot if you're wanting to have something a little bit easier to edit on mobile, or maybe you want to get advanced and do Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro if you're doing some longer form content. But either way, pick some apps and stick with them. You need something to edit your photos with. I mainly edit photos on my phone. I would say it's about 99% of the time. And I like to use Tezza for a lot of really cool and fun presets. And then I'll sometimes use Photoshop if I need to like remove something in the background or remove a stray hair or something like that. And of course, you need something to go and create graphics if that's a part of your content strategy. For me, I create a ton of graphics and I like to use Canva. Some people like to use the Adobe suite of products, and some people like to use like PixArt or some of these easier apps to use. But that is overall what my tech stack looks like for content creation. Part 2 of this process is organizing your content workflow. And remember, I referenced that YouTube video that I just posted last week. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it before you get to this part. Some of this might seem a little confusing. So once you've figured out your content workflow, it's important to know what steps you need to take. We've already figured that out, but how are we going to manage that process? And you need some sort of tool or software to do 2 different things. 1, you have to know what tasks you need to complete, and 2, you need a place to house all of that content as you're working on it. It can technically be the same software, but I like to use 2 different ones. The task management side of my content workflow, I like to use Asana. I know what tasks I need to complete each week, and I can assign due dates and like assign it to myself and get alerts and notifications and things like that. I have a task in Asana that I put a due date on that I can know exactly what I need to do each and every month for content creation. And that's stuff like recording my YouTube videos, obviously planning the YouTube videos, taking all the thumbnails, things like that. And then I have a weekly task that is due by Friday that I know that I need to have certain things done in order to keep my content creation process workflow moving smoothly. Asana just works best for me, my needs, and being able to collaborate with my content manager on those task-based things. Whereas I use Airtable to manage the content workflow side of things. I use Airtable to house all of the information that I need for my YouTube workflow, to all of my Instagram posts, any short form videos I want to repurpose, and also my social selling campaigns. Airtable has the capability of just housing more of the things that I need, like these YouTube videos. I need to have a title, any important links. We need to have the thumbnails, the link to the Google Drive folder, all these different things. I'm able to house that really easily inside of Airtable. So you've created the content, you have a place where you're storing the content as you're working on it, and now you need a place to put that content once it's ready to be posted. I wish all of this existed in just one app so we didn't have to have all these different things. If I knew how to develop an app, I'd probably be a millionaire because I just jumble all these things together. But I like to really lean into having my content go out for me on my behalf so I'm not constantly spending so much time inside of these platforms. And while this might not feel like a necessary step in your business and you're like, I'll just post it manually, I promise you, this is going to save you so much time and energy when it comes to posting frequently on social media. For YouTube specifically, I actually just use their native scheduling tool. It's already built into YouTube. We would just upload the video and schedule it as needed because there's not another scheduling tool that does really well and plays friendly with YouTube. For TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn specifically, I like to use Later for all of my scheduling needs because I can auto-publish a lot of these posts, and the posts that cannot be auto-published, I get like a push notification to my phone and I can easily just update it. And that way I'm always keeping up with the multiple different platforms that I show up on, and content is getting pushed out there. I also recommend using Planoly. Both Later and Planoly are paid software, like third-party softwares. So if you're not ready to kind of pay for a software like that, you can still use the in-app scheduling features. LinkedIn has one, Facebook and Instagram have one through the Meta Creator Studio. So just use those tools that are available to you. And lastly, for my newsletter, I like to use Flowdesk. I think it's the prettiest, it's the easiest way to do email marketing, and I can just pre-schedule all my newsletters. The most important thing to remember when it comes to organizing all of your content is to keep it as simple as possible. I used to have a ton of apps. I had an app for just about everything you could think of. And lately I've been trying to condense all of that so that I can only show up in a couple of different places, keep content creation as simple as possible. We don't need to overcomplicate this. That way I can just show up more for my audience. And you guys, if you want to save even more time in the content creation process, definitely check out my free content batching guide at the link below in the description. I walk you through how to batch create your content efficiently, and it's very strategic. So don't forget to download that. If you found this very valuable, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week.